Normally, there's so much attention paid to the inhuman animal who's visiting destruction on innocent people at worship, or just innocent people because he doesn't like their type. He doesn't know who they are. They're not people to him. We're not people to him. Jews aren't people to him. And you're dehumanizing the inhuman, and you're humanizing the victims, because the fact is each one of those victims is a distinct and precious human being. And you see that I'm in pain over this. I'm sorry. Let me just take a step back. Right after the holiday, right after the Sabbath, a lot of observant Jews first tuned in to see what was happening. And two things happened in rapid succession, for me at least. The first was I saw the cartoon, the New York Times cartoon. And my immediate reaction to that was anxiety over the normalization of this kind of hate, of this kind of anti-Semitism. I mean, what could be more mainstreaming than a cartoon in the New York Times? That's mainstreaming hate. And despair over the fact that it seems to be going without stop. And then, moments later, I read about what happened. And that was just pain and mourning, which it's really been. And I guess I really haven't spoken about it. I didn't expect to be this emotional right afterwards, but I decided for myself to take myself off social media and not react. And this is my first reaction, I guess. And so there's two things. There's anxiety and despair over the mainstreaming of this kind of hate. And there's pain and mourning over the individuals who were killed. And you're right. We have to not pay attention to the individuals, but pay attention to the mainstreaming of anti-Semitism. What's terrible is that when an anti-Semitic crime or attack occurs, for some reason it gets lost. We can't talk about it as though Jew hatred isn't bad enough. We have to say, oh, well, there's also Islamophobia. Yes, there is. That's a terrible thing. There's all kinds of race hate. That's a terrible thing. Anti-Semitism on its own is a terrible thing, and we need to talk about that in our culture because it's being normalized. So that's the first thing. We can't turn away from the fact that Jews are, according to the FBI, and have been for years now, by far the most targeted Americans. By far, 60% of all hate crimes against religious groups are against Jews. We're about 2% of the population. That's the first thing. We can't turn away from how bad this situation is in our country, in this great country of ours. The second is, I don't want to politicize this. People have been politicizing it right away and pointing fingers. But to me, it doesn't feel political to point out that one of the defenders used a firearm that was secreted in the synagogue because they have to be there now, because we have to protect ourselves now. And so people who are trained are finding it that we need to have firearms. This is tragic that we need it, but we need it, and people need to not take it away from us.